Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Catchy English. I'm Emma, and today we're going to talk about something that can completely change the way you learn English, how to train your memory. Think about it. Learning a language is not only about practicing speaking or listening. It is also about remembering. You need to remember words, sentences, patterns, and even ideas. Without memory, everything you learn today will disappear tomorrow. So if you want to speak English with confidence, you must learn how to train your memory like a muscle. Let's begin with an important idea from science. Psychologists call it the spacing effect. This means that if you repeat something several times, but leave space between the repetitions, you will remember it much longer. For example, if you learn a new word today, then review it tomorrow. Then again 3 days later. And then after a week, your brain keeps the word in long-term memory. This method is much more effective than just repeating the word 10 times in 1 hour. Another useful principle is called active recall. Imagine you learn the word adventure. Instead of just reading it again and again, you close your eyes and try to say it without looking. Or you try to use it in a sentence. Learning English is an adventure. This process of trying to recall information makes your brain stronger and helps the memory stick. Now, how can you build habits around memory? One powerful method is to use memory cues. A cue is a small signal that reminds you to remember. For example, you can put sticky notes around your house. On the mirror, you write, "Today, I will practice 5 English words." On the fridge, you write, "Repeat yesterday's sentences." These small cues train your brain to review, and slowly it becomes automatic. There is also something called memory association. Our brain loves stories and pictures more than random facts. If you want to remember the word bridge, don't just repeat it. Imagine yourself standing on a bridge in London, looking at the river. The picture in your mind creates an emotional connection, and the word becomes unforgettable. Let me give you an example. A student once told me he could never remember the word umbrella. So I asked him, "What picture comes to your mind when it rains?" He said, "I see myself running in the rain without an umbrella." I told him to imagine a big, colorful umbrella appearing suddenly above him. The next day, he remembered it easily. That's the power of association. Another important scientific idea is called neuroplasticity. This means your brain can grow stronger and build new connections no matter your age. Some people say, "I'm too old to learn English." That is not true. Science shows that the brain changes every time you practice. If you train your memory daily, even for just 10 minutes, you are literally rewiring your brain to become better at learning. So, what habits should you build to improve memory for English learning? Let's make a list. Review every day, even for a short time. Use the spacing effect review after 1 day, 3 days, 1 week, and 1 month. Practice active recall. Close your eyes and try to remember without looking. Create associations. Connect words with pictures, emotions, or funny stories. Use cues, sticky notes, reminders on your phone, or even a study partner. Sleep well. Memory becomes stronger during sleep. If you don't sleep enough, your brain forgets. Stay curious. Curiosity creates motivation, and motivation strengthens memory. I want you to understand, This memory is not a natural gift that some people have and others don't. Memory is a skill, and like any skill, it can be trained. Think about athletes. They train their muscles every day to become stronger. Your memory works the same way. If you practice, it grows. If you don't, it becomes weak. But the good news is, you can start today. Here's a simple exercise for you. Tonight before you go to bed, take a notebook. Write down 5 new English words you learned today. Then close the notebook. Tomorrow morning, try to remember them without looking. Then check. This small activity will slowly transform your memory power. And remember, you don't need hours. Just 10 to 15 minutes a day is enough. The key is not how much time you study, but how consistent you are. So let's make this a habit together. Here on Catchy English, I'll continue to give you more techniques to train your brain, improve your memory, and make English learning easier and more enjoyable. When we talk about improving memory, we cannot forget the power of repetition. Repetition is like exercise for your brain. Just like lifting weights makes your muscles stronger, repeating information makes your memory stronger. For example, if you hear a new English word, once you may forget it quickly. But if you review it the next day, then again after 3 days, and then after 1 week, your brain slowly decides, oh, this is important, I should keep it. Scientists call this spaced repetition. It means reviewing something at different time intervals instead of all at once. This method is proven to help people remember more for a longer time. You can use apps for spaced repetition, or you can create a simple notebook where you write down words and check them again and again. But memory is not only about repeating words. It is also about creating connections. Your brain is like a giant web, and every new word is like a little dot. If that dot is floating alone, you will forget it. But if you connect it to many other dots, it becomes part of the web and stays longer. For example, let's take the word apple. You can connect it to other things, red fruit, sweet pie, or maybe even the company Apple. The more connections you make, the easier it is to remember. This is why memory experts often say, don't memorize words, build networks. Another amazing tool is visualization. Our brains love pictures more than plain text. If I tell you the number 478152, you'll probably forget it in seconds. But if I say, imagine 4 birds flying 7 trees standing tall, 8 apples on a table, 1 sun in the sky, 5 children playing, and 2 cars passing by, suddenly the number becomes alive. Visualization gives your memory something to hold on to. Emma, here from Catchy English, wants to give you a little challenge. The next time you learn 5 new English words, don't just repeat them. Try to make a picture with them in your mind. For example, if your words are dog, rain, bus book, and smile, imagine a dog sitting on a bus, holding a book while it rains outside, and someone is smiling at the window. The image may sound funny, but because it is strange, your brain will remember it. Humor and creativity are also powerful for memory. The funnier or stranger something is, the longer it stays in your brain. That is why you often remember silly jokes or funny videos for years, while you forget boring information very quickly. You can use this trick in your English practice. Think about grammar rules, for example. Instead of memorizing a rule in a dry way, make a funny sentence or picture in your head. If the sentence makes you laugh, your memory will keep it much longer. Now let's talk about habits. Building a memory is not only about using techniques, it is also about creating the right environment. A healthy brain remembers better. Sleep is one of the most important parts. When you sleep, your brain organizes information, like a librarian putting books on the right shelves. If you don't sleep enough, your brain becomes messy and forgetful. Exercise also helps. When you move your body, your brain gets more oxygen, and this makes memory stronger. Even a short walk outside can refresh your brain and make studying easier. And finally, emotion is a powerful key. You remember things better when you feel something. That's why you never forget your first love, your happiest holiday, or a scary experience. To use this for English, try to connect words or sentences with your feelings. For example, if you learn the word excited, think about a time when you really felt excited, maybe when you traveled or when you received a gift. This emotional connection makes the word unforgettable. So here's the message from Catchy English. Don't just study harder, study smarter. Use repetition connections, visualization, humor, sleep exercise, and emotion. If you combine all of these, your memory will become like a superpower. When we talk about memory, we often imagine it as something fixed. Some people think I just have a bad memory. But science proves that memory is like a muscle. It can grow stronger with practice. Just like you can train your body at the gym, you can train your brain to remember more and forget less. Researchers in psychology and neuroscience have studied this for many years. One of the most powerful findings is about active recall. This means testing yourself instead of only reading or repeating. For example, if you learn 5 new English words today, don't just read them again and again. Close your book and try to remember them without looking. At first, it feels difficult, but every time you pull information out of your memory, you make that memory stronger. Another powerful method is called spaced repetition. Our brain does not remember well if we study everything in one long session. But if we review the same information several times with breaks in between, the memory becomes deeper and more permanent. For example, if you learn a new word today, review it tomorrow, then again in 3 days, and then 1 week later. This spacing follows how your brain naturally forgets. Each review resets the forgetting curve, and soon that word will stay in your long-term memory. Emma here on Catchy English. And I want you to imagine this like planting seeds. If you water a seed only once, it will die. But if you water it a little every few days, it grows into a strong tree. Your memory works the same way. Small reviews over time build strong knowledge that lasts for years. Let me share a fascinating study. Scientists tested 2 groups of students learning vocabulary. One group studied for 1 hour straight. The other group studied for 15 minutes, then rested, then studied again, and repeated this over a week. The second group remembered almost twice as many words as the first. Why? Because the brain loves rhythm, not pressure. So, how can you use this in your English learning? Here are some simple steps. Use a memory journal. Write down new words or phrases you learn each day. At the end of the week, test yourself without looking. Try the 5-minute rule. Every evening, spend just 5 minutes recalling what you learned that day. Don't read, just try to remember. Connect words to pictures. Our brain loves images. If you learn the word mountain, imagine a tall mountain you have seen. Linking words to visuals makes them stick. Teach someone else. When you explain a new phrase to a friend, you force your brain to organize and recall the information. This strengthens memory even more. Here's the truth. Memory is not magic, and it is not a gift only for special people. It is a skill you can practice daily. Just like athletes train their muscles, you can train your brain. Every time you practice, you're literally building new connections in your brain's network. This is called neuroplasticity. It means your brain is always changing, always learning. So don't say, "I can't remember English words." Instead, say, "I am training my memory." Because each review, each recall, each habit is making you stronger than yesterday. Another key to improving your memory is something called spaced repetition. This is a method scientists discovered that helps your brain remember things for a long time. Instead of repeating something many times in one day, you review it again and again, but with longer gaps between each review. For example, if you learn a new English word today, you should review it tomorrow. Then review it again 2 days later, then 1 week later, then 2 weeks later. Each time the gap becomes longer, and your brain gets stronger at keeping the memory. This is why many successful learners use flashcards or apps that follow spaced repetition systems. They don't just study randomly. They study at the right time, so the memory is saved deep in the brain. Let me give you a simple way to try this. Take 10 new English words. Review them today. Review them again tomorrow. Review them 2 days later. Write them in a notebook. Cover the answers and test yourself. Each time you succeed, your memory is growing stronger. Another powerful tool for memory is association. Your brain remembers stories, pictures, and emotions better than just plain words. So if you want to remember the English word bridge, don't just repeat bridge, bridge, bridge. Instead, imagine a big bridge in your city. Imagine walking across it with a friend. Feel the wind, hear the cars, see the water below. Now the word is connected to an image and a feeling. This makes it much harder to forget. Many memory experts use this technique. They build memory palaces, which are mental places in their minds where they store information. For you, it can be simple. When you learn new words, connect them to a story or a picture in your life. The stronger the connection, the stronger the memory. Science also shows that your emotions affect memory. When you feel something strongly, you remember it longer. Think about a song that made you happy or sad years ago. You still remember the words, right? This is because your feelings helped lock the memory into your brain. So when learning English, don't just repeat words like a robot. Add feeling. Say the word loudly. Say it with excitement. Or imagine a funny situation with that word. The stronger the feeling, the stronger the memory. Now let's talk about something many people ignore: sleep. When you sleep, your brain organizes memories from the day. If you study but don't sleep enough, your brain cannot save the information properly. That's why pulling an all-nighter before an exam usually doesn't work. Your short-term memory is full, but your long-term memory is empty. Studies from Harvard and other universities show that people who sleep well after learning something remember it much better. So if you want to build a strong memory for English, make sure you sleep enough. Think of sleep as part of your study time, not wasted time. Here's one more secret. Your memory improves when you teach others. When you explain something you just learned, you are forcing your brain to organize the knowledge clearly. This process makes your memory stronger. So when you learn a new phrase in English, try teaching it to a friend, a classmate, or even just explain it to yourself out loud. That's exactly what we do here on Catchy English. I, Emma, explain ideas and tips to you, and by doing that, I also remember them better myself. You can do the same. Be your own teacher. The more you teach, the more you remember. Emma here, and we are back on Catchy English. By now, you can see that memory is not something fixed. It's something you can train like a muscle. And when you train it the right way, you don't just improve your English, you improve your whole mind. Let's go deeper into how to make memory training a natural part of your daily life. You don't need hours, you just need small, smart actions done consistently. One very powerful method is chunking. Your brain doesn't like to remember long lists of random things, but it loves patterns. Imagine trying to remember this number, 219847316. It feels impossible, but if you break it into chunks like 219, 845, 73 and 6, suddenly it feels much easier. The same works with English. Instead of trying to remember 20 words at once, group them into smaller categories like food words, travel words, emotions. Your brain will hold on to them better. Another technique is called active recall. This means instead of just reading or listening, you test yourself. For example, if you learn 10 new English words today, don't just repeat them silently. Close your book or app and try to say them out loud without looking. If you forget one, no problem. Your brain learns best when it struggles a little. That small struggle is exactly what makes memory stronger. Now, science also shows us the power of spaced repetition. Maybe you've heard of it. This means reviewing information at specific intervals today, tomorrow, 3 days later, 1 week later. Apps like Anki or Quizlet use this system, but you can also do it with paper cards. The idea is simple. Don't try to memorize everything in one day. Instead, keep coming back to it over time. That's how information moves from short-term memory to long-term memory. Let's add something even more exciting, the memory palace technique. This is an ancient method used by great thinkers and memory champions. The idea is to imagine a familiar place like your house. Then put the words or ideas you want to remember into different rooms. For example, if you want to remember the word apple, imagine an apple sitting on your kitchen table. If you want to remember airplane, imagine an airplane in your living room. Later, when you mentally walk through your house, the words will come back to you. But memory is not only about techniques, it's also about habits. Here are some small habits you can add to your life today. Before sleeping, recall 3 new English words you learned. Say them aloud. When you wake up, review yesterday's words for 2 minutes. Use one of those words in a sentence during the day. These micro habits take less than 5 minutes, but make a big impact on your memory. Another scientific tip: sleep and exercise. Your brain actually replays the things you studied while you sleep. That's why staying up late memorizing is less effective than studying and then resting. And exercise increases blood flow to your brain, making memory sharper. Even a short walk can help you remember better. Now let's think about confidence. A strong memory is not just about facts, it's about trust in yourself. Imagine going into a conversation and the words come to you naturally because you trained your memory. You don't freeze, you don't panic, you just speak. That's the real goal: freedom and flow in English. Let me share a small challenge for you. Tonight, choose 5 new English words. Create a funny picture in your mind for each one. Put them inside your memory palace, maybe in different rooms of your house. Tomorrow morning, before you even check your phone, walk through your house in your mind and see if you can recall all 5 words. Do this for 1 week, and you will be surprised at how much you can hold in your memory. So remember this: your brain is amazing. It is flexible, adaptable, and stronger than you think. Every time you practice memory techniques, you're not only learning English, you're training your brain for life. On Catchy English, I want you to see that language learning is not about pressure or stress. It's about building skills step by step with joy, with curiosity, and with the right science to guide you. You can train your memory, you can make English stay with you forever, and you can become the confident, smart speaker you want to be.